Today we are building an abandoned farmhouse in Henford-on-Bagley, and that was the world that we got with Cottage Living. And so this is a build that was me meshing together Cottage Living gameplay with Paranormal Stuff Pack. This is my ode to the Paranormal Stuff Pack. The last time we actually don't use a lot of the decor in the Paranormal Stuff Pack. I actually have another build that will come out in a couple weeks that has that's more my ode to the decor from the Paranormal Stuff Pack. This was to the gameplay because Paranormal Stuff was the piece de resistance of stuff packs, and then we never got another one. It's been like I think been at least a year. It might have I think it's a year. No, because we didn't get it last year. It's kind of oh my gosh. We didn't even get it. That was before last year. So anyway, it's been a long time. But I wanted this to be an abandoned farmhouse. And we're starting out here with the landscaping. So the idea of the landscaping is that it's super overgrown. We have kind of like this mucky canal in the front with that's just over the whole lot is overgrown. I use these little like they're not decals. So those things they look weird in build mode, but basically they're like little emissive shader things. So they'll send out like fireflies and bugs, and they're super cool. We got them originally. I don't know. We got them. I think we got them originally with Cottage Living, but I don't think they've done them since. It's unfortunate because they're such like a neat idea. Like it's so nice to have that little extra like realism. And we're adding in some plants and some logs and like just to make this feel very like natural and overgrown. I try to use this debug bridge. It doesn't. I didn't like the way it blended into the land, so we do get rid of it. We do end up going for the good old fashioned just terrain bridge. This lot is play tested. It's a little bit of a weird lot for that because it is very. I use a lot of trash and abandoned stuff, and it like is intentionally lacking in. For example, like I was actually playing in it with because I built this for my legacy. I was actually playing in the lot and realized like I don't have a fridge in the build, and that's not like me forgetting the trash can. It's probably not a trash can, now I say it, but or the bathroom as I sometimes do. But it's more the fact that like this is supposed to be a house, like a fixer upper house. Like there's actually like if you look, there are some challenges that require you to play in like a fixer upper house. I think this would work well, like be something really adapted to that. And a lot of those challenges have where you have to like pay to get access to a room, and the idea that you had to pay to like restore it or you pay to like get some of the trash hauled away or to fix the windows. And this is the perfect lot for that type of gameplay. So it is not necessarily a lot that you're going to come in and have everything your sim needs. It's more of like rags to riches would be really fun. And I do start you out with a lot, but so it's not really rags to riches. But the idea being that like this is a lot that was it's built for aesthetic, sure. But I actually built more around gameplay for one. So this house is based on English countryside houses. I believe I based it on an old farmhouse that's now been converted to an inn. I can't remember, but basically English farmhouses, as Henford-on-Bagley is very based, I think, on England and kind of I'm sure there were some other inspirations, for instance, mix things to make more fantasy. So it's not England, but it has. I mean, we have a pub lot, so it's very definitely supposed to be very English inspired. But the house itself is pretty simple. It's just like a two chimney house. I thought I forgot fireplaces, but as I was rewatching this, I do in fact put in at least one fireplace and like a wood stove. So these chimneys aren't purely decorative. But the house itself is just a fairly simple, nice, easy roofing job here. I do cut it out to get the chimney to look the way I want at the top. Which is a good, like, reminder that if you're roofing, I think it's really, like, and this tripped me up a lot when I started roofing before, is that it's really tempting to use, like, the pre-made roofs that are all one pieces, but sometimes to get the roof to do what you want, or just cut it up and connect them together. It's more work, but sometimes you get a more natural look. And then we're back to more landscaping, which honestly I love. Like this is like some of my favorite stuff to do in The Sims. I forget, like, I really should be a Planet Zoo player sometime. Out of like the building, the decorating, and landscaping, I do like building. I really do love decorating, but I really love land. Um, it's just a really nice. It feels more like painting than anything else because the building is kind of like, you're just trying to get a shape together, and like decorating has more rules you kind of have to follow, if that makes sense. Um, where you need to be a bedroom needs a bed and it needs a nightstand, it needs a place to store clothes, and there are some like pre-established rules about how you like decorate a house. Whereas landscaping feels a little more, you can be a little more loosey goosey. It is nice to have a palette, but it feels more like painting, like play around with how you place things and you layer things, especially when I'm doing like a crazy overgrown lot like this. I get to play around a lot more with kind of that palette. Also, this house is meant to be like haunted. It is haunted. It is a haunted house, like I was talking about from the paranormal stuff. I've been talking more about the farm side of it. Um, but so you'll notice in all my like screenshots and like the images I use on social media for this house that I took them all in like spring when everything's dead and it looks really like creepy and abandoned, but I just want to say we don't want to play this as a haunted house. It also could just be an overgrown farm, and you see that if it's in the middle of summer like this is. It looks really prettily overgrown, and so you could just trim back on some of that, turn off the haunted house. If you don't want to do the haunted house gameplay, delete all the trash, and have a really cute overgrown farmhouse for Sims just as an option. We'll see. We already have like the animal barn in, and we're now working on more of the farm side. I put in a little like conservatory, like sunroom, or I think this would have been like more of a conservatory type room in England, but it also very much would function as like a mud room in the US, like the place where you put all your muddy boots as you're coming in farm, come into the living space. I really struggled with the windows here. We end up going with the ones we have in the front, but I wanted something else to work. I switched the windows a bit here. But I'm happy with the ones that came, but I like wish that I'm not happy as I could have been. But they work. I mean, we get the farmhouse in the end. Just going through here and adding some roof trim. Don't forget your roof trim. You'll see how much better it looks at the roof trim. So one of my other pro building tips for you. This attic is functional. There is a room built in there, and that's part of why we built the roof in those different pieces. There is a third floor, so it is 3 floors. And then we are back to our landscaping, like 9 in landscaping. Which is another, so like when you're trying to do landscaping, because I think landscaping just like is confusing for a lot of people, and I think one of the things to do is one to not forget about the terrain tools to make sure you add dirt around your really helps to like blend them. And also the fact that like you'll see even here, I'm really probably most of this build. I have a couple of trees, and I always try and take the trees from the world if I can. Look around. Sometimes I will break my own rule, but if you look around and see what trees are in the world, your lot's gonna blend a lot better with trees. But then you just layer. You take like 3 or 4 bushes here, um, and you combine them together. And I think that's really a big thing if you just do them. This is a place where like move objects can do a lot of heavy lifting. Blend them. You take a flower and blend a bunch of leaves in there because you think about a plant like a lot of the if you just use the flower plant, it's too many flowers. Um, See that I'm using like a darker plant on the bottom here to kind of like ground it. Um, and you get more variation in color. You don't get all that like solid green. And so it's really like I said, it's like painting. I think can make some people a little fun to get into it. So this is my plea, my shout out is paying more attention to your landscaping, and to working in. I think especially like so you'll see when I go to plop down the farm plots, that and I'm repeating trees here. You'll see we have a birch tree in the front, but I try not put the same tree right next to each other so that it doesn't look obvious. Turning your plants is a big thing too. Rotate. Rotate is something you learn if you ever watch plant videos. Every time they place down a bush, you'll see that I rotated that bush there. It gives a little bit of natural variation. I was gonna say, like, so like with these farm plots, for example, if you just plop them down like this and you don't do anything with them, they look really unnatural and like fake in video games, which is fine for your gameplay. Like, you do you, do whatever you need to do. But if you want them really to look natural, lining them in here with the terrain paint and making it look like, the grass here is going to stop growing because you're walking over it. Obviously, I go over the course here. You do need to, like, I believe, delete this grass for these to be functional. I'm going to say this build, like, shines a weird line between, it's meant to be functional. I'm playing in it, like, right now. But, I did a lot of decor things so that, like, the idea that is, like, your sim is cleaning it up, right? So you have to take out the mushrooms. You have to clear out the grass. Just imagining. But I kind of built that with gameplay in mind, even though there's not gameplay in The Sims 4. Like, you are just going to have to go into build mode and delete it. But kind of wanted to give you a lot that would bring out story in it because it was inspired by, like, I have a Sims family that was in a tiny lot. She is an aspiring chef and she's trying to open her own bakery, so they're putting aside all this money, but they had twins, so they need more space. So like that, this was the house they could afford because it is super abandoned. You'll see that I just like cannot stop plants filled with this more plants. I really think I really like how it came out and all the plants. But the idea being that this house is the fixer upper, right? So this was the house they could afford because they're putting all this money into her dream. And speaking of layering, like these little dead branches add so much because especially in a lot that's supposed to be overgrown, like you have this part like is not healthy. And I'm just here really continuing to add things feel overgrown and add some like clutter, some of the like old working farm clutter. Add in some line laundry, which feels like it'd be very real. I always feel bad because I know a lot of people don't like the laundry game, but you can delete it if you don't like it. But those laundry lines is like I love the look of laundry lines. I don't know why. Um, I mean, I do live in a place where we line dry laundry, but like in apartments, they don't pretty here. Um, but I think there's just something nice about like having a laundry line in your backyard. There's this aesthetic to it I really enjoy. Here we're letting Tool do some of that work just to like make the tire lean against it. This is a really good way to like blend. And then I kind of have some things here that are knocked over like this. My caveat, because I was playing in this lot, is that some of these things remain functional. So if it's gonna bother you, if it's gonna like really ruin your realism when your sim sits sideways on a chair on the ground. I don't know about this one, but the one in the kitchen, my toddler was definitely like, "Let me eat my cereal on the chair that is sideways on the floor." So if seeing your sim does that is gonna like ruin all your immersion. You're gonna want to delete those straight off. They will use them. And finally, we're on to the interior. Now, the interior of this house is a little weird, because it is so it was the idea is like it was decorated once upon a time, but when I was planning this build, I did a lot of like watching of those videos of uh like people who explore abandoned places and in cities where they find an abandoned house and they go in and like stuff like that. So in a lot of those, like the house will be in various states, but the idea being that like the idea that so like kind of my thought here is like someone died and there was some dispute. You'll see that we do put in fireplaces, which I really thought I forgot. But and like the house didn't get sold or whatever, and it just kind of fell into like maybe someone came in and took out some of the furniture, but they left behind the things that like, they didn't have a need for, and then it just sat in disrepair. And so, which is why you'll see like normally I would not let plants clip into my building, but you'll actually see this happen. Like I would have fixed those plants that are clipping in the building. But you'll see this happen in like old abandoned buildings where like plants start to break through walls. That is why there are plants clipping through the walls. I did not not notice. It is intentional in this case. You can do it if it bothers you. I would assume that you would as part of your gameplay. But basically, so for decor. Going back to the decor, you will see here that what we're doing is like we're building a relatively cute kitchen. We're using, I don't believe this is the, I can't tell the difference between the Country Living and uh the the kit. I can't remember if this is from the kit or from Country Living. I mean, that was a little bit of a lie that EA sold to us, right? That they weren't going to take things out of EP, put them in kits because they just do it in the wrong order now, which I really like. Am like entertained, like because they did this. I feel like they've done it in both orders now because we got the country clutter or whatever. I don't remember what they call it, like that little kit that has all the like containers, which for sure I use in this build because I love it. It's perfect for any cottage build. And then we got Country Living, and obviously, like a lot of those things could have gone into Country as part of the. And then they did it backwards with high school years because I feel like that clutter kit we just got, which is I bought it. I'm a hypocrite. I mean, like I was like we just all live in our hypocrisy when we deal with Sims 4 and EA. But the clutter kit we got, uh, I feel like a lot of that, if you look at it really, and even the pastel pop, I know they worked with Plumbella on that. But if you go back and look at those things, a lot of it really blends very nicely with high school years. Because you agree, you're like, couldn't these all have just been in high school years? They could have, but no, they wants to charge us more. But anyway, back to our build. So we basically are gonna take this cute kitchen and we're gonna mess it up. We're gonna add a bunch of cracks and spider webs, which are super creepy when you go to build them up because I forgot they actually like have spiders on them. So it's great. It's exactly the vibe I want. I'm gonna use Tool to kind of like make things look like they've been knocked over, and then we're gonna go through and just finish in this kitchen, add in some more upper counters. So yeah, you have this weird mix here of the like paint, like maybe someone came in and decided they were gonna fix it up, and the animal tracks, like a wild animal is broken in, and then like these herbs that I'm assuming were like in some of the condiments that were like stuff that just nobody ever cleaned out from when someone was living here. Probably like feel like curtains maybe want to survive, but this wall just needs curtains, so we put curtains on it. But I do really like it's a very different build. Obviously, normally I build things for like cute, but this one is made more to like give you that gameplay. This is supposed to be a dining room back here, by the way, but I imagine like it had a nice dining room table, and that was the first thing someone like there, took out or sold. That like there's just where the dining room table is left is all that's left. And I do, if you have access to Tool, if you're, now you can download this. This is no CC, so even if you don't have access to Tool, you can always download builds that have Tool. You just can't re-rotate things, delete something, or etc. But Tool is really great for this like cluttered, abandoned aesthetic. So we moved on to like the living room. I use a lot of the trash I think we get from like Eco Lifestyle, and I think some of this is from City Living. These like uh the like older furniture like the flea market, but this is definitely like Eco Lifestyle, like the fridge that's like broken down. Like I was saying, there's no working fridge on this lot because the fridge has been trashed. You have to get your own working fridge. So don't move into this lot thinking your things are gonna have everything they need from day one. Like that's, I don't know, like the idea, like it's the struggle of like the people who buy the trashy houses to flip or whatever, but your sim has to live in it. But I'm building this room out to be kind of like the pantry, where we had like our cereal boxes and whatnot left over. I do really like in those videos when you go through and watch the videos of people do these like abandoned house tours. And sometimes they find like the super old vintage food. So I kind of had that in mind when it was preserves or something. It's stuff that like there's no way you would eat this, but it was just like the kind of things you would find. House adding in dust. I think I bought Bust the Dust just so I could have it for this build because the gameplay, and it's annoying because now everything in my game is perfect. But because I really wanted the task. Because they like I really, if I remember correctly, because I'm not huge gameplay. I was talking about how I was playing, but I'm not a huge gameplay simmer. I mostly am a builder. I was reading some. I need to go back and look into this. I was reading something, and I didn't. On Reddit, someone was talking about how that Will Wright initially wanted The Sims only to be building, but knew it wouldn't. Will Wright, who is like the one who started SimCity, reason we have The Sims, right? If you don't know that, you're not an OG Simmer. Will Wright started the Sims franchise, so like Sim Farm, SimCity, how we got to The Sims. Someone was saying that Will Wright like wanted it to be a building game, but knew that like that wouldn't be commercially viable. This is all things I've read on Reddit. I thought it was really interesting because I don't remember the building in the older Sims. Like the older Sims games to me were for gameplay. I didn't like build houses to build houses. That is a Sims 4 thing for me. Especially because like Sims 3 is annoying to build in and things like that. So, but I think it's really interesting. That is where I get a lot of my enjoyment. But I was saying that's why I never bought Bust the Dust, and I ended up buying it for building reasons. But I mean, we do have whole games built around building now, like House Flipper. So maybe it would have been more. It certainly is now. It feels like now the live mode. I always say in my head it's been live since I was a child. I know it's live mode, but let me be. Feels like an afterthought. So it certainly feels like they're continually selling a building game. But anyway, here we're just making it like more abandoned. We're using Tool to kind of like board up the outside windows. And that I wish they would just give us an item for that, honestly. I do feel like we got some stuff. I built this before werewolves came out, which is unfortunate because you have werewolves and you want to go through and like personalize this a little bit. I do think you could add some more things. Man, I put fireplaces upstairs. I'm so proud of myself. I didn't think that I did that. But we're just gonna finish crashing up the upstairs. We add in some bed and some more of this room specific trash. There is a functional bathroom in the build. At least I gave you that. And there are some like beds. Like there's enough for your sim to get started here. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy the walkthrough. I hope you enjoy playing. I hope you get to play in the build. I think it's a fun lot to play on. It has a lot of story with the haunted house. It does have it is a haunted lot. You will get ghost inspectors that if you don't want them. I also put simple living on just to make it terrible for your sim. But I hope you enjoy the build. I really enjoyed cluttering and landscaping it. Let me know what you think about it. Do you want to see more builds like this, or do you want more apartments? Let me know in the comments. And if you think about it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps YouTube a lot. If you do that, it's just the algorithm really wants you to click on. So click if you enjoyed this video, click on something for me, and I will see you next week. And I hope you have a great week. Bye.